वाचवलं होतं त्यांचं व्यक्तिमत्वाबद्दल, तर एकदम एक स्त्री फॅशन इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये काम करणार. फॅशन इंडस्ट्री म्हटलं की आपल्या डोळ्यासमोर आधी बुलबुले या सगळा बॉलिवूडचा किंवा मॉल्सचा किंवा आणखी बाकीच्या गोष्टींचा येतो, आणि तिथून ती एका अतिशय नोबल कामाकडे, ज्याला आपण प्राण्यांसाठी हॅबिटेट निर्माण करणं किंवा बाकीच्या ज्या वंचित लोकांसाठी झोपड्या बांधून देणं किंवा अशा प्रकारच्या कामाकडे त्याची काय बोलते. खरं म्हणजे तसं म्हटलं तर आपल्या प्रत्येकाच्या मनामध्ये काही स्वप्न असतात किंवा काही आर्जित ज्याला म्हणू शकतो आपण, की जी आपल्याला करायची असतात. सुरुवातीला आपण आपल्या गरजांमुळे, आपल्या संसारामुळे, आपल्या अनेक गोष्टींमुळे आपण व्यवसायांमध्ये शिरतो आणि मग पुढे ते सगळं राहून जातं, आपण विसरूनही जातो. आपल्या अडचणींमुळे, आपल्या कर्तव्यांमुळे आपण सगळं विसरूनही जातो. पण एखाद्या अशा समाजातल्या विलक्षण स्त्रीच्या मनामध्ये येतं आणि ती आपला जॉब सोडून देते आणि एका वेगळ्या कार्यामध्ये झेप घेते आणि त्या कार्यामध्ये पुढे पुढे जात जवळजवळ 20-25 वर्षांपेक्षा जास्त तिथे राहते आणि ते आत्मसात करते. हा खरोखरच एक विलक्षण भाग आहे किंवा योगायोग आहे असं म्हणायला हरकत नाही. आज आपल्याला ज्याच्याविषयी सांगणार आहेत, आता असं म्हटलं जातं युद्धचे कथा रम्या. कथा ऐकायला खूप आवडतं सगळ्यांना युद्धाच्या, आणि त्या रोजच्या असतातही, ऐकल्यात आपण बऱ्याच लोकांकडनं. पण प्रत्यक्ष त्या ठिकाणी काय अनुभव असतील, तिथे काय घडत असेल, तिथे त्यांना किती जीवघेण्या अनुभवांमधून जायला लागत असेल, या सगळ्याविषयी, तिथल्या गरजा काय काय असतील, तिथे काय कसे प्रश्न सोडवले जात असतील, या सगळ्यांविषयी आपल्याला आपण आता यात सांगणार आहे. त्यांचं स्वागत करूया आपण. आणि आजचा हा कार्यक्रम जो असेल तो मुलाखतीच्या स्वरूपात असावा असं पाठकांचं म्हणणं होतं. त्यामुळे पाठक त्यांना प्रश्न विचारतील आणि त्या प्रश्नांची उत्तरं देतील आणि आपणही त्यांना प्रश्न विचारू शकतो. तर आपण आपल्या प्रश्नांची मनामध्ये उजळणी करून ठेवायची. मी सुनीताताईंना विनंती करते की त्यांनी त्यांचा परिचय करून द्यावा.
Brothers and sisters, actually before I tell you about Aparna's work as a volunteer, it's very interesting to talk about how I knew Aparna. Actually Aparna and I were hostel mates in our teenager years. I was some 14-year-old when I went to hostel to study in Mumbai. We lived on Marine Drive hostel, she was there. We were completely opposite. I came from a completely vernacular background. I was from Sangamner, most of you know. I was very shy person. I was doing science. I could not speak English. I spoke really broken English that time because till 10th my language medium of instruction was Marathi. And on the contrary, Aparna was also, she was an extremely stylish person, very sophisticated, a wonderful human being. She was doing arts, I was doing science, so our colleges were different. I don't know how it happened or our paths crossed each other, and I still don't know how we became friends. But since we became friends, I really give that credit to her for being friends, accepting me friends in those years when I could not speak English at all, you know. So I really give her credit. She's very sophisticated, very different person, different lifestyles. Okay, so that was last. That time there was nothing, Facebook or nothing. She left at the age of 19, Mumbai. I also immediately left. I went back to Sangamner for some personal reasons. And after 36 years, we met for a few hours in New York City. We both had crossed in our mid-50s. And
the meeting was accidental?
No, on Facebook we met, we found each other's name and we could recall, yes, we know each other kind of thing. Luckily she had kept her name before her marriage and of course I had kept, so we could connect. So after 36 years we met. So a lot of things about them, and that we just met for a few hours in the afternoon at my daughter's place in New York City. And I really don't, I knew a little bit about her. But I just heard about her volunteer work more recently through her Facebook post. So I approached Rajnata and Dr. Shudes if we could have a lecture. She was visiting us. So that was the thing. Okay, this is another thing. Now, Aparna, if you won't believe, she went at the age of 19 to the US. Her family shifted. She was India USA, Miss India USA. And that's why I said we are so opposite and still. And she worked in the fashion industry. She worked for Macy. Macy is a very big brand chain of departmental store in the US. She was a buyer, buys merchandise for sources merchandise for those big. She worked for them. Then Pottery and Barn is a very big furniture store. We have now they have opened a store in Mumbai recently, extremely high end. She worked as an interior designer, interior decorator, where you style your in-house shops. So she styled for that. This work she continued for like more than 30 years. And at the age of 50, she felt enough is enough. I need to do something different now. So she volunteered, she got into the world of volunteerism. She is a specially appointed advocate for in the US for the foster care system, for the foster care children system. So she works as a specially appointed court order. She's accepted as an advocate for that. Then closer to our home in Goa, she recently built shelters with another NGO for stray dogs and cats, just recently, 4 or 5 years back. And also, you must have heard that recently there were, in 2017, there were fires in the California due to summer. All wineries, everything gone. Okay, wineries, people are rich, but what about the people, farmers who work there? They were completely, that is Hispanic crowd and from people from Mexico coming and working just as laborers, they were left no place to go. And that time she went there, she asked the people who were kind of setting up some help for them, how can help? They said, wait, we'll call you. She said, I'll go home and come back. There's no sense. And that time these people started coming, these people from who wouldn't have any place to go because there were fires. They started pouring in. And these people say, hey, can you do something for them? It was all of a sudden, on ad hoc, then she started a rescue center for these people and set up the camps for that. It was suddenly, and after that, Red Cross came over and took over the work. But initially, these people were all the time there. So, and now how she moved to the Ukraine and what suddenly happened, and she thought of going in a very different way and volunteer. Let's hear from her. So I hand over the stage back to Rajni, the president, to conduct the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudha. I request Mr. Pran Pathak to interview Aparna. Yeah, project.
तुम्ही पुढे बसता हां प्रोजेक्ट चालू करतो तिकडचं बटन बंद केलं त्यांनी
नाही इथून ते एक झाले चालू
तिकडचं बटन त्याने बंद केलंय तिकडचं ते ATMI पण बंद केलेलं दिसते त्याने सगळं बंद केलेलं
ते झालं सुरू झालंय
आणि सगळं कसं आहे पण ते स्पेस बार दाबून तुम्ही पुढे जाऊ शकता किंवा स्टॉप करू शकता ओके यू वांट टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट होम का दावा लागेल तुम्हाला या फोटोपासून ठीक आहे
हॅलो नमस्कार मित्रांनो
व्हॉट हॅपन काहीतरी
Okay.
मी तिथे बसले.
क्लोज कॉन्टॅक्ट ठीक आहे इट्स ओके
तो येतोय. पुढची
त्याला माहित-
हा, मी तिकडेच थांबते.
त्याला माहित लागेल.
दोन mic लागतील actually.
ठीक आहे.
अगं दुसरा माईक नाही
I can speak loudly. Can you hear me if I speak
Yeah,
loudly?
we can hear you, no problem.
Okay, I will tell you in a few minutes why we changed this format, but without wasting much time, I want to directly go to the question which Sunita raised. As Sunita mentioned that Aparna, and she also mentioned in her introduction that probably there was a moment of awakening or a period of awakening where she suddenly decided that this from high fly careers like Miss India USA and then fashion designer and then even her lifestyle from the beginning. She not suddenly but maybe gradually decided to take up this humanitarian work. So first I want to ask her, what was that period like? I mean, did you think on a particular day that from tomorrow I am going to change? Was it an incident that made you think that no, I am not going to do this? Or was it a gradual development that made you think that I will basically start doing some humanitarian work?
Are you talking about just Ukraine or are you just talking about my lifestyle change? My lifestyle change. Well, it really started because I started questioning my purpose in life. It's one thing to make money, be successful, be recognized and appreciated, but at the end of the day, what am I taking with me? At the end of my life, what am I going to say I'm proud of? Am I going to be proud of how much money I've made? Or am I going to be proud of being a good human being and helping people? And so that was really where I came from. I wanted my life to have more meaning, more purpose. And I decided that in order to do that, I need to follow my passion. My passion has always been children. My passion has been animals, and my passion has been making sure that the underprivileged people have just as much or enough to sustain themselves. So having come from that, it's very easy to write a check and donate money, but it's a very impersonal thing. I felt like I wasn't being it wasn't a personal thing for me, and I wanted to be hands-on. And so that's basically what got me started working with Habitat for Humanity. So I was hammering and doing plumbing and doing electrical, under the guidance of professionals, of course, building houses for the poor people. Then there are a lot of children in the foster care system, so I got trained to be an advocate for them to make sure that they have a consistent life. There is uniformity. There's somebody there always watching over what is happening with them. And then I volunteered with humane societies, but when I started coming to India, that was when the plight of the stray animals really struck me, especially being in Pune. My mom lives in Pune, and there were lots of stray dogs and cats, and I started feeding them. And then I moved to Goa, and I worked with a couple, and we opened up a shelter for stray dogs and cats. Unfortunately, I had to give it up during COVID because I was not able to come to India. And so who was going to take care of the animals? And so I found somebody to take over the shelter, and in retrospect, it was the best thing I did. I miss my 72 dogs and 12 cats.
Oh my God.
But they are being even better taken care of by someone who's local, who has the means and the ability to take care of them. So that's really where it started.
And how did Ukraine happen?
How did Ukraine happen? Okay, so we were all in a state of shock when the war broke out. And I initially started by, I read about this in the New York Times, where you can book a stay through Airbnb. You know Airbnb, right? So I could book a room or a place to stay at Airbnb in Ukraine and not really go there, but give them the money. So I started booking stays and writing to the owner saying, It says that I'm coming tomorrow, but I'm really not coming tomorrow. Please use this money to help yourself, help your neighbors, do whatever you need to do because you are without any resources. So I was doing that for a while, but it just didn't feel like I was doing enough. You know, I needed that personal connection. So one morning I'm sitting at my breakfast counter and I'm reading the news about the Russian invasion some more. And I just said, you know what? I need to be there. I have no idea what came over me. It was pure impulse because I'm a planner. I plan everything out and I plan every detail out. But this time I said, I don't care. I just booked a ticket. I found out where the refugees were coming into Poland. So I booked a ticket to Poland. And I said, that's it, I'm going. And then, so during the day, I was very excited. I would go online and I would try to find groups. I'm going, but what am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I started looking online, trying to find groups that I could work with. During the day, I was very excited and full of passion about what I was doing. But at night, I was full of terror because I'm like, what am I doing? I've never done anything like this before. I've never been to a war zone before. I don't like violence. So it was not planned. It was not thought out. It was a pure impulsive act because I felt like I needed to go personally and help the people in whichever way I could, basically.
Actually, this afternoon we sat together and we were trying to planning this talk because Aparna said, give me some information about the audience. And she showed me a lot of photographs. And then after some time, both of us thought that it's not possible. I mean, she had so much of emotion and so many experiences that it was impossible. Both of us realized to fit it into a 30-40 minute talk. And so we decided that it would be better that possibly I ask some questions and she will give answers. And as she said that she suddenly decided to go to Ukraine. Now, we are just choosing some photos at random. There is no particular sequence in that, and I'm going to ask some questions. We haven't actually planned anything as such. Aparna, when I saw this particular photograph, I mean, this is obviously a photograph of chaos, but the chaos doesn't appear in the picture. I mean, people are so calm and quiet in this picture, but obviously there is some inner turmoil which is going on. But on one hand, I see that people are so disciplined there. I mean, people are not pushing around, they are not showing any anxiety on their face, no expressions. On the other hand, you were there, and you were yourself not, you did not plan this as you said. How did you deal with this kind of scene at the train? This is at the train station?
This is at the train station. So I should apologize to you ahead of time. I get very emotional about this. This was very difficult for me to see, and I'm sure it would be very difficult for all of you to see. This is the train station in the city of Przemyśl. It's spelled Przymysl, so you'll never know that it's pronounced Przemyśl. So this was this train station at Przemyśl, which is about 10 kilometers away from the Polish-Ukraine border. So this is in Poland. There were trainloads of refugees coming in. And when I say refugees, these are the people that had lost their homes, that had lost their families, that had lost their limbs or had shrapnel in their bodies, who were just escaping violence and trying to find a safe place. A lot of times you don't see any expression on their faces is because they were shell-shocked. They would stumble out of the train, traveling for 14 hours, standing tight next to each other, barely able to walk once they got out of the station because they were under so much stress, physical and emotional. They also were shell-shocked, so they had no expression on their faces. They didn't know whether they were standing or sitting or dead or alive. They were in survival mode. But what I have to commend is the communities, the Polish people, the people from UK, the people from Israel, the Sikhs. There were people from all over the world that had come to Shemesh to help these refugees. And you will see the people in the orange jackets. They're meeting the refugees that have come. They basically came with a suitcase or a shopping bag with their entire life belongings. Everything, that was it. And so they're being told what services are offered to them, where they could go, what they could do, and basically just being given hope that we are here, we'll take care of you, we'll help you, we'll support you in whichever way we can.
Is these organized efforts? People,
These were organized efforts.
so is there kind of an organization?
There were several organizations that came there
Ah.
from different countries.
Yeah,
When I first booked my ticket, I was not with any organization.
okay.
I didn't know what I was
So
doing.
you went and joined kind of a group?
But yes, by the time I actually went to Ukraine, or to Poland, I didn't go to
Yeah.
Ukraine, I went to Poland. By the time I went to Poland, I had connected with different organizations. I had connected with organizations that needed medical supplies. And we're talking medical supplies like hemostatic gauze, tourniquets, that were going to the front lines, to the soldiers.
Yeah.
I had connected with World Central Kitchen, which is an organization that goes to casualty areas and provides food to the people that are in need.
स्क्रीन सेवर ऑन होतो आहे सेटिंग्स नेक्स्टला जात नाही ते बरं स्क्रीन सेवर ऑन नेक्स्टला जात नाही का
I had also connected with an organization that had set up a humanitarian center in a Tesco supermarket. So we had about 800 beds for refugees that came in. We got them organized, where they were going to go, how they were going to get there, a place to live, and then sent them on their way in about 3 to 5 days. So I managed to connect with a lot of different organizations. Thank you. Hopefully I won't get emotional too much.
काय बघितले फोटो एक फोटो घ्यायचा
इथे आले
स्लाइड शोचं बटन होतं
Edit image.
एडिट नाही there was actually an option for slide show.
ते व्ह्यू मध्ये असतं स्लाइड शो व्ह्यू ॲज अ स्लाइड शो व्ह्यू ॲज अ स्लाइड शो मध्ये असतं ना व्ह्यू ॲज अ स्लाइड शो
हां व्ह्यू ॲज अ स्लाइड शो आहे मगाशी मी करून पण ठेवलं होतं पण ते गेलेलं दिसते कुठे त्याच्यात
ठीक आहे जस्ट कीप मूव्हिंग
Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't zoom to full.
You just select the pictures and
पण ठीक आहे असं तुम्हाला दाखवता येईल
मला zoom करून पुढे जात आहे.
हां, पुढे
परत
छोट्याला
छोट्याला
छोटं करून मग तिकडे क्लिक करायला लागेल
परत स्मॉलला जा आणि then the arrow is there later.
काय झालंय त्याचा पीपीटी वगैरे बनवायला मला वेळ नाही मिळाला नाहीतर मग त्याचा पीपीटी बनवत असतात आणि त्याने जरा नवीन ॲप्लिकेशन असल्यामुळे व्ह्यू
एक एक पिक्चर मोठं करतात.
13 नंबर
स्लाइड शो आहे का बघायला
13 number.
आहे ना
Oh, that was 13
Yes,
numbers.
13 number. You go on explaining on these pictures. We can see.
Yeah,
Just explain
select
the
a few pictures.
स्लाइड शो आहे ना
Slide show.
हां
Now start.
नाही आता ते स्लाइड शो ऑपरेट करा तुम्ही त्याच्या पुढे मागे करा ठीक आहे खाली पडेल.
Okay.
किंवा टेबल इकडे सरकवून घ्या, दॅट इज बेटर.
Loose connection is there. नागपुरामध्ये परीक्षा.
आणि ठीक आहे, नाव इथून वरती असं करा आता.
This is interesting.
Yeah, we could see the Red Cross logo on some of the orange jackets. Was it connected to the Red Cross organization in any way?
There was definitely Red Cross there. There was UN there was Red Cross there.
Yeah.
But most of the work and the most credit I have to give to the ad hoc groups that had formed
Yeah.
instead of the big corporations.
Yeah.
Because the ad hoc groups that had formed were very, very effective. And these are people that came to the border on February 24th when the war broke out.
Yeah.
And they were just helping the refugees. They met each other. They realized that they all had the same purpose in life. Or a few people, they had the same purpose in life. How do they make it work? And they would form a little group. So
Okay.
the first group I worked with was called Help for Ukraine by Europeans.
Okay.
This is the kind, they have random names, or they would call themselves Ukraine Aid, or the Canada Way. So they're not registered as a non-profit, they're not registered as an NGO, they're not registered at all. They're just a group of people that said, we all have the same purpose in life, we all want to help people, let's band together because, there's greater power.
And these volunteers have come from all over the world, from different nations?
All of the world.
Okay, yeah.
Because somebody has to calculate what kind of help is needed, what
Yeah.
kind of medicines are needed,
Yeah.
so that the help can be organized throughout the world.
Yeah.
There were organizations that did it on a large scale, right?
Yeah.
But these small organizations were the one who went directly to where the need was. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait. People were doing things illegally. Illegally in the sense, they would come and rent a car in Poland, right? Legally, they were not allowed to cross the border into the war zone.
Right.
Yeah.
But they said, we don't care. We're going into the war zone. We are going into the war zone with humanitarian aid, whether it's food or medicines or clothing
Yeah.
or whatever. We're going to illegally go into Ukraine,
Yeah.
deliver this humanitarian aid, and we will evacuate whoever wants to come out of Ukraine. So there was a lot of illegal activity if you think about it. It was all impromptu. It was not necessarily organized. And then they would bring them to places that were organized to set them up. Or they would bring them to people like me who had money, who had raised money. And we would say, okay, you need a place to stay. Let's find a place for you to stay. And that was not organized. We would just find a place. You need a 2-bedroom place. Let's see if we can find a 2-bedroom place. Okay, here's 6 months rent. Stay here, start building a life, and we'll figure it out. So there are a lot of refugees that got help like this, not
But
through.
Poland is too small to accommodate all these people. Or you are sending them to different countries of the Europe. All
Yes.
these displaced people.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a center. So this is again at the train station where people had donated water, food, etc.
Yeah.
And you could just come and take whatever you wanted.
Hmm.
Whatever you felt your need was. You just came and took it. This was all for the refugees. It was for anyone that needed it. No questions asked.
Did the Ukrainian government make any efforts to organize this humanitarian aid work? Because it would have been better if the government itself had created a sort of an organization for carrying out the voluntary work.
Yeah.
Then it would have been guided properly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Ukrainian
But the-
government, I think, was more focused on defending their
War.
country
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
than on
Helping out the
on
residents.
helping out the people.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did something like that. I mean, I can't really speak to that because I never really got involved in the, the big,
Yes.
big organizations. I was just there to do what I could do, and I met with similar-minded people. These people I trust with my life now. I've met them randomly, but we all protected each other. we all supported each other in helping the Ukrainians.
I'm extremely surprised with this photograph and earlier that so much of self-governing is taking place.
Yes, it's all self-governed.
And that example which you gave me in the afternoon, that those people who didn't have any money
Yeah.
and they just took something out
Yeah.
of it. What was that exactly?
So a lot of times what was happening is because they came up to the train stations, they were in shell shock. They had no idea where they were going, what they were doing. And even though there were organizations there to help them, you know, the influx of refugees was so high that you couldn't get to everyone. So they would get out of the train station completely lost, and they're like, where's the bus stop? Where can we go? And so one such example that I spoke about this afternoon, I was on my way to the train station to help feed the incoming refugees, and I bumped into a mother and daughter, and they were looking for the bus station, and I didn't know where the bus station was because I'm new to town.
Yeah.
And Google Translate was my friend because I don't speak Ukrainian, I don't speak Polish, so we would just do Google Translate. And I found out where they wanted to go. And I said, you know, I don't know where the bus stop is, but let's get you a taxi. No, we can't take a taxi. We have no money. Like, don't worry about the money. So I got them a taxi, and I just basically took whatever was in my wallet. I think it was like $200 or $300, equivalent to, I don't know what it was. I just emptied my wallet and I gave it to her. I said, you take this and you go to where you need to go, take the taxi, pay for the taxi. Oh, I don't need so much. I only need this for the taxi. I said, no, take this, because then you can find a place to rent for you and your daughter for maybe 2 days or 3 days, and you'll be safe and you'll be comfortable. But I don't need so much money. I don't need this. Give it to someone else who needs it. This is the mentality you encounter.
Yeah.
So when you have that mentality, you know, you want to give even more. And so somehow I managed to convince this woman to finally take my wallet, take the money in my wallet, and send her on her way. And I've kept in touch with a lot of these refugees.
Yeah.
You know, we shared our WhatsApp numbers, and I would follow up with them. Are you doing okay? What do you need? And they would respond back. And I'm still in touch with quite a few of them.
Did you actually enter Ukraine and go into the war zone, or you
This is
stayed in
Ukraine.
Poland itself?
This is Ukraine.
You entered Ukraine.
So I went to Ukraine 2 different times. The first time I went was my impulsive trip, and I said May for Ukraine, and I spent the entire month of May in Ukraine. When I actually the entire month of May in Poland. But while I was in the town of Przemyśl, I heard about this woman in Ukraine near the city of Lviv, which is about a 4-hour drive from the border. She had taken over this, I don't know if we talked about this. Yeah, she took over this abandoned building. She got permission from the government to take over this abandoned building. And she started housing women, old men, and children who had lost their houses or their properties because of the bombing and had no place to go. So this building was obviously abandoned. There was nothing there, concrete floors, 1 bathroom, and she was housing 80 people in there. So when I heard about it, I said, I want to meet this woman. I want to see what I can do to help her. So I went with a couple of other volunteers that I had just met at the border. Hey, you know, there's this woman who's doing this. Do you want to go see how we can help her? Yeah, let's go. So the way to go into Ukraine, you couldn't take the trains because they're full of refugees. You couldn't drive across the border because the lines to go in and out of Ukraine were 5 and 7 days long. I mean, that's how long the border was. You just couldn't drive. So what we did was, we got to the border of Poland, we went through border immigration, crossed the no man's land, got into Ukraine, and then we found someone there to pick us up and drive us. And we told them this is somewhere this building
How
is.
would you clear the immigration? You have a visa or something like that?
No, I have a US passport that allowed me to go anywhere.
Okay, US passport. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop. They would say, "Why are you going?" And I said, I'm here to help." Because they do question you. Why? This is not a tourist zone. Why are you going there? And I'm like,
But immigration people didn't stop you.
no. They would ask, "What is your purpose?"
Okay.
And I'm here to help. I'm I'm here to help your people.
Yes.
And
Probably US citizen doesn't require visa.
so, no, we didn't need a visa. We didn't need a visa.
And
So we ended up going to this building with 80 people and children, and we raised enough funds where we built 2 more bathrooms. So now 80 people had 3 bathrooms. They were sleeping on the cold floors, concrete floors. We raised enough money to buy IKEA beds. It's the cheapest bed we could find. We spent a week in Ukraine building the beds, hammering them, putting them together, so they had a place to stay. So that was my first impromptu trip. Then so I came back in May. Then in July I came to Pune. It was my mom's 90th birthday, and so I had to celebrate her 90th birthday. And then after I left India, I came back to the US, booked a flight, and went back to Ukraine.
Oh.
But this time I went. My purpose was to be in Ukraine. You have to fly into Poland. You can't fly into Ukraine, obviously. And then did the same thing, walked across the border, and had somebody pick me up on the other side. And the second time we went to the same place, and we got them more clothes because then winter had turned into summer. They needed clothing. We had someone set them up with Wi-Fi and computers because they were children that needed education. So this was all just done.
The flights are going on from USA to Ukraine?
No.
Because I war, they all stopped.
No, there's no one flying into Ukraine. No one flying into Ukraine. You flew into Poland.
Poland.
Yeah, so you flew into Warsaw, Krakow, or Rzeszów. So the first time I flew into Rzeszów, the second time I flew into Krakow. And then you either take a train or but there's such a huge network of volunteers. So you basically say, hey, I'm coming on this day. Is there anyone here in this area who can pick me up and take me over there? And then you get responses, oh, I'm going to be here at this time. I can pick you up. Where I can drop you off over there. So the volunteers are helping each other.
yeah, talking about that, in the afternoon when we were discussing on your computer, lots of messages were still flowing in.
Yes.
So what was happening there? Are you still in
I'm
touch
still in
with-
touch with them. I actually left Ukraine in August, and I left about a week before I planned to, because I discovered that I was having tremendous PTSD because we were constantly having the air raids. We had to go hide in the bunkers. You'd feel the building shaking with the missiles coming around. And so it got to a point where I couldn't handle it. But even though I'd come back, I couldn't stop helping. So there are lots of WhatsApp groups where they do logistics, where the transportation. There's animals. Animals need to be taken out of the war zones and taken somewhere else. Medical supplies needed. The border, the refugees that are at the border who need help, housing needed. So those are all the messages that are constantly coming up. I finally shut off my war alarm because I was getting all the war alarms. And so my PTSD was just continuing. I'm like, oh my God, I'd be messaging all my friends, okay, I just heard that there's going to be bombing in Kiev, you got to be careful. And so I finally gotten away from that. But I'm still involved in financially helping, yeah.
And you also mentioned that a lot of people offered you money to help them.
Yes.
And then there were some issues with that.
Well, so when I first decided to do this, it was my personal thing. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it for me. I wasn't telling the world. You're the first people I'm talking to about this.
Okay.
So it's a very it's been a very personal journey for me. I haven't shared this with anyone. So a friend of mine said, you should start a GoFundMe. A GoFundMe, you know what a GoFundMe is, right? It's where you ask for donations from people. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. This is
GoFundMe is actually a crowdfunding site.
Yeah.
So it actually organizes efforts for funding, but at the same time it takes 2.9%.
Yes, it takes 2.9% plus $1 per transaction. So I was like, no, I'm not telling anybody what I'm doing. I'm doing this on my own. I'm not doing this for anyone else. And so my friend convinced me, he said, everybody wants to help, but they don't know how to help. and you give to the big organizations, and there's a huge percentage that goes into admin costs, things like that. Whereas if they give you the money, they know that it goes directly from you 100% to the refugee effort.
Yes.
So very reluctantly, I said, okay, and I set a $3,000 GoFundMe. Within a day, I had reached 5,000. So then I kept increasing my need. And I had people that have donated to me don't even know me. I just put it out there that I'm going to, and I would write about I'm going to Poland to help the Ukrainian refugees, and I would write about my experience and what was going on. I collected over $45,000 from people
Oh, that's
that
great.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know these people who were so generous with their money. There were $10 donations, there were $20 donations, there were $7,000 donations. So I got the whole gamut.
Through Facebook?
I did it on Facebook. I did it on a local site called Nextdoor,
Okay.
where it goes out to neighbors. And then I sent out emails to people I knew.
Yeah.
And I would write the stories about what was going on, my experiences. And each time I wrote a story about my experience, I would get more donations. And I had people that I don't even know who donated once, $50, second time $108, third time $188, fourth time $3,000. And I was just really just blown away by the generosity.
Yeah, just to change the track slightly, what are the sandbags doing in this picture?
Okay, so the city of Lviv is a beautiful historical city. I think it's one of the oldest cities in Ukraine. It had not been bombed as yet. This is the first time I went. The second time I went, it was bombed. The first time I went in May, it had not yet been bombed, but they were in preparation for the bombing. And they were in preparation for the tankers to come into town. So they had sandbags all over the place.
Yeah.
They had tires
Yeah.
as obstacles.
Yeah.
They had those, those metal things that I showed you? They're called Hitchcocks. And they are to prevent the tankers from coming in. So this was all in preparation for what could possibly happen. Yeah.
And did you have any individual experience of people coming and talking to you? How they were feeling, what was their plight?
People were just so appreciative. They couldn't understand why I was there. The Ukrainians would ask me, why are you here? Where are you from? I'd say, well, I'm Indian from America. But why are you here to help us? I mean, they were so grateful and so thankful. And they just couldn't understand why the world was helping them. When, they have a very violent history, if you think about it. Poland, Ukraine, they were all part of the USSR at one point, and then they, got their independence. So they were just very grateful and, thankful.
I think
about
this
it.
was the-
This is the Hitchcock. Yeah, so when the tanks come, because the tanks don't have a wheel, they have this round
Yeah, well.
and in the belt, thank you, the belt. So when the belt comes, it'll go over the Hitchcock and it'll turn upside down. That is the purpose of the Hitchcocks.
These are again the sandbags.
Yeah, these are again sandbags.
Yeah.
This was in the city of Lviv. This was the most emotional monument to the deceased soldiers, you could say. Because you can't see, but there are hundreds of photographs of people in Lviv that had gone to war and had died. Yeah. Yeah, you see more sandbags over there, there's Hitchcocks over here.
What's the plan next? Will you be going there again?
Yes, so I really feel guilty that I wasn't there in December, because December was the time when they really, really needed help. Because Russia had bombed all their key electric power stations. So it was freezing. They had no electricity. They had no way of heating themselves. They had no way of cooking. So I spent the winter months basically helping people get wood stoves, getting generators across. But I was still really experiencing a lot of PTSD, and I knew that I needed to take care of myself first before I could go out and help take care of other people. So now I've just got kind of, you know,
PTSD, is that post-traumatic?
post-traumatic stress syndrome, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And what are the symptoms? What do you exactly experience in PTSD?
Well, I was having nightmares. I wasn't sleeping. I would have panic attacks.
Yeah.
I would cry for no. I would be sitting there with a group of friends, and we'd be having a good time, and all of a sudden, I would start crying because I would feel guilty that I'm having a good life, but all those people there are suffering so badly. So it comes across in many different ways. I think it took a lot of meditation and prayer to help me get through it and realize that.
Did you have to take any medications for that?
I didn't
No,
take
you
any
didn't.
medication. No, I just had to work through it and recognize that, you know, life is not always fair, right? Actually, I did go to therapy. So there was somebody who contacted me saying, "You come back from this horror, witnessing some horrors," because I saw people with half their face blown off. I saw people that had lost their arms with shrapnel in their body. And he said, "If you ever need to talk about it, you know, I'm here to talk to you." So this was a stranger who called me. So one day I called him and I said, "You know, I need help. I need help in justifying that I'm living a comfortable life when there are all these people suffering through no fault of their own." And he made me realize that I'm entitled to have joy in my life, right? We're all entitled to have joy in our lives. And he said, "Think about the refugees you were helping. Were they always really sad? Or was there time when they were smiling and laughing?" And I thought about it, and there was this one refugee center I was helping. There were all these kids playing around, totally oblivious to the war that's happening around them, chasing a butterfly and laughing. And I had to remember that along with the horrors, there is still some joy there.
Yeah.
And I should not feel guilty for being with my friends and having a good time, because that's just part of life. So that's how I got through my PTSD.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how I will react, but I'm tentatively going to go back in April. I'm definitely going to go back in June.
Okay.
Where does the energy come from? Aparna actually last night she reached Hyderabad airport. She did not sleep the whole night. She was talking to people, and then she flew this morning. I think arrived at my place at 9.
Yes.
Yes, and finally I had to say somewhere that I need to take a nap. Where does this energy come from?
Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. But when I was there, it was like an adrenaline rush. You know, you knew that there was so much that needed to be done, and you didn't really have time. So when I came back from Ukraine the first time, I just collapsed because I would be at the kitchen at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we would cook till. So there was a cold side and a hot side at the World Central Kitchen. The hot side we would cook rice and vegetables and meat and pack it and send it to the Ukrainians. On the cold side, we made 5,000 sandwiches and pack it to send it to the Ukrainians. And we'd be done at 3 o'clock. And after that, we'd go to the train station to start feeding them. And we'd be at the train station till midnight. So we were working from 7 o'clock in the morning to midnight. But there was so much that needed to be done. It's like your body forgets. You know, it's like you have to get this done. So you just have this energy that comes from I don't know where. But then I came home after a month and all I did was sleep. Yeah. So these were the 9 suitcases of medical supplies that I took with me the first time I went to Ukraine. Or to Poland, not to Ukraine. The first time I went to Poland in May. This was one of the organizations that I took the medical supplies to. You know, the homeostatic gauze, the tourniquets, and mainly medications that went to the front lines.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit about the refugee center. I can't find that photo. The outside.
It's in the beginning.
No, it'll come after this, I think.
Yes.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. It's before this, right?
Yeah, it's before that.
Here.
Yeah, here,
Oh.
the previous.
Oh, this is where we were making the 5,000 sandwiches. So this is World Central Kitchen. This is one of the kitchens of World Central Kitchen.
This is the.
This is the refugee center.
Yeah.
So this is the Tesco. I don't know if you've seen a Tesco. It's like a huge supermarket in Europe. And this was housing 800 refugees. We had World Central Kitchen with kitchen set up inside and outside. We had tables set up from different countries that were willing to take them in. Yeah, this is where the refugees came once they came into the train station, and then they were bused over here. They would stay here for about 3 or 4 days to get their bearings,
Temporary shelter.
temporary shelter, and then we would send them off. So over here, I was cleaning beds, I was mopping floors, I was doing laundry, I was feeding children. I mean, you basically do whatever you can do to make their life a little easy. That's all you do. Yeah.
Any questions from your side, please?
What is the current situation in Ukraine? Is there a ceasefire or
No.
does the war go on?
No.
Is there any hope of the war ending in the future?
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
There's always hope that
Hmm.
it will end.
Yeah, but at present,
It's
the
horrible.
war is on. There
It's
is-
horrible.
Yeah.
The Russians are playing dirty.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess, you know, after the Geneva Convention and stuff, there's a certain amount of protocol in war, right? The military fights the military, but the military does not go after civilians. The military does not go after women. They don't go
Yeah.
after children. And the Russians are not following those rules right now. They're bombing hospitals, they're bombing schools, they're bombing malls,
Power
they're
stations.
power stations, exactly. They are kidnapping children. There's lots of rape and human trafficking going on. The soldiers are brutal, absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And so it's getting worse.
One thing I had promised to Aparna was that our book is very positive and we proved it because she told me that when she mentions that she went to Ukraine, people ask questions like, why Ukraine? Why didn't you go to Syria? How do you feel when you ask these questions?
Well, you know what? There is no denial that there is such a great need everywhere in the world. You know, in India, in the US, in
Yeah.
Afghanistan, in Iran. I mean, look at what's happening in Iran. It's horrible. But I think what got to me about Ukraine is that there's this one superpower that is trying to take over someone else's life, which is wrong. You know, I mean, not that what's happening everywhere else is right, but there are countries that are fighting within themselves. So who am I to go in and tell Syria that you're right and you're wrong when it's the same, you know, within the country? But over here, there's one superpower. It's like David and Goliath.
Yes.
You know, you have one superpower attacking this little country, and that to me just felt morally wrong. It's my sense of, you know, it's hard to describe. It's my sense of this is wrong. This is not right. It's like if I were to take a child and just beat the child because I could. That's wrong. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
No, I got it. Yes. Right. So basically, what you are saying is you just need to find your anchor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's
Yeah.
it. You found your anchor, so
Yeah.
no need to justify it.
Yeah.
Just one question. A friend of mine, when I invited him to attend your talk, he said he cannot make it because he's not in Nasik.
Yeah.
But he asked me to ask you
Yeah.
that, when he heard the name Aparna, he thought like brown,
Yeah.
Indian.
Yeah.
She said like, what he has heard that the Ukrainian people do not like browns, Indians
Yeah.
going there. So of course you
Yeah.
don't look like an Indian, you don't speak like Indian, but did you have any such
No, you know what, he's
experience?
absolutely right. The Polish, the Ukrainians, they're all racist. They only look for the whites. And so before I went, I had people telling me, you're brown, you should be careful. And I didn't feel that. I didn't, people would ask me where I'm from, and I'd say I'm Indian from America, but I'm Indian. And they were just appreciative. Oh my God, you're Indian. Oh, because I have curly hair, I've got a blow dry, so it's straightened now, but I have black curly hair. And they'd be like, oh, that's why you look the way you do, because you're Indian. That was it. Nothing else. There was no, I personally did not feel any discrimination or any racism, but it's there.
Yeah, same. We lived in a few countries and I traveled to US.
Yeah.
People always talk about discrimination, even in Singapore.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe I don't look at it that way, but I never felt being discriminated. Even when we lived in Singapore for 20 years, I never felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aparna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Please sit.
Thank you.
It's really great, speechless and shocking. It's a shock to us, really.
It was a shock to me too.
Because we have never heard like this experiencing this really. Yeah, we have heard lot of stories.
मला कधी वाटलं नव्हतं की मी अशा ठिकाणी काय I never thought this would be a part of my life
Even
ever.
we can't see an accident on the road.
Yeah.
जाऊन तिथे बघू शकत नाही आपण आणि अशा ठिकाणी काम केलं आणि पुन्हा ते अगेन्स्ट ह्युमॅनिटी लाईक म्हणजे कुणाशी तरी लढणं आपणही लढणं एका दुसऱ्या ह्याच्यात मी बाळासाहेबांना विनंती करेन त्यांनी आवाज म्हणाला.
With your permission, I will just sit and please. Friends, for last 1 year, Ukraine has become a topic of hot discussion all over the world. But now it is not only talk of hot discussion, it has become a topic of great concern for the whole world. And what we apparently see is that Ukraine is fighting with Russia. No. Russia might have started the war. Now the war is going on between USA, NATO countries and Russia. To be very frank, who is right and who is wrong is a different matter. The big powers are not interested to stop the war. They are supplying arms and ammunition to Ukraine so that the war will continue. But at what cost? Already all of us have read 300,000 lives have been lost. And the loss of property, the institution on both sides, beyond imagination. A day will come when the war will stop. But after that, even Russia, a big power, and Ukraine, a small country, will take years together to revive the economy.
Yes, absolutely.
The big powers will go away, USA and NATO countries and Russia. But they will take a lot of time. And anyway, that's a very unfortunate part of it. But I really appreciate a lady like you felt so much deeply in your heart that you must go there. It's not that easy. Risking your life, you went to Ukraine because when you enter a war zone, anything can happen. You never know. A bomb may fall, a missile may come. And You have done, madam, a great pivotal job. I mean, helping whatever was possible for you. Ravi, when I came here, we had a small discussion, and whatever I knew about hearing from the introduction that I had, you have left your very lucrative job and now you have decided as a mission to help the social service. I advise her join Rotary. No, because then your efforts are organized. What I say, I mean, most of the members of this club are ex-Rotarians, for your information. We left Rotary about 6 years before because we retired. But what we have learned in our life, it's a platform, and you can multiply your efforts, financial efforts, and your all efforts, and any social work. So anyway, that's a different thing. I appreciate your so much passion for this, whatever you have done. And on behalf of our club, I thank you profusely. Request our president as a token of love, gift to you as a remembrance.
Thank you so much.
एक मिनटं थांबा जरा, एक मिनटं थांबा. हां. या, थँक्यू. या, थँक्यू.
Thank you.
I have to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to
Yes.
voice what I've done.
Well,
Because like I
yes.
said, I haven't talked about this. I've talked about it briefly with some friends.
Yeah.
It's been a very emotional thing
Yes.
for me to talk about. It's difficult, and there are some things that I've seen that I still can't. I haven't processed
Yeah.
in my head as yet. So I really appreciate. This has been a psychological
Catharsis,
release.
sort of.
It's cathartic. It's very cathartic that I could.
But the
talk.
more you talk, you will calm down yourself.
Yeah. I tend to be a very private person, and I don't talk about things that I do because I don't do it for anything except my personal satisfaction. So that's also the difficult part about talking about.
It keeps on burning in your heart. If you talk, then it comes out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so
आम्हाला
thank you.
आम्हाला समजेल काय असतं प्रत्यक्षात.
हो.
आखो देखा हाल आहे. सिनेमा बघून आम्ही रडतो. मला म्हणायचं मला म्हणजे रडू येईल म्हणजे एवढी म्हातारी झाली तरी. आणि प्रत्यक्ष बघितलीस का जिवंत कशी आली त्याचाच आश्चर्य आहे.
You know, this is going to sound really weird, but my daughter, I have a 30-year-old daughter, and she was very worried about my
Naturally.
going. She said,
Naturally.
Mom, you know, are you crazy? Because she thinks I'm crazy anyway, because she's like, don't go doing this and don't go doing that. She's very protective of me. And she said, what if something happens to you, Mom?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? You're 30 years old. You're independent. I raised you independently. You're on your own feet. You don't really need your mother right now. You know, if she was young, it was a different story. I would never have put myself at risk, right? And I said, you know, we are all going to go at some point, right? When our time is up, our time is up. It could be in your sleep. It could be walking down the street. It could be a bomb in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I said, what better way for me to go if I have to go?
Any small help is the most important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just about her daughter, she just graduated as a lawyer from Stanford.
Oh,
now,
lovely.
now she's a criminal lawyer. Now, a criminal lawyer can earn any amount,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but she decided to be a public defender,
Oh,
and she's working pro bono. And just her first cases, she fought to get parole for a black teenager. It was her first case as an pro bono basis. So perhaps she's on the lines.
Same line. Same line. Good.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
She's amazing. She's really amazing. Good. But thank you. Thank you for your patience with my ramblings.
इंडियन स्पार्क दिसून येतो जिथं तिथं.
काय?
इंडियन स्पार्क दिसून येतो. दुसऱ्यांसाठी उडी झाले. कौतुक
पण लोक सुद्धा आपल्यासाठी करतात.
हे समजतं म्हणून आपण
एकमेकांसाठी केलं पाहिजे ना तर कोण काय करणार?
Ultimately, it's the image of India that you have protected over there, that an Indian came here and helped us, And it was a pleasant surprise for them too, the Ukrainians,
Yeah.
that an Indian can come and help us.
Yeah.
I mean, you are not related to Ukrainians in any way. And it was not binding or it was not obligatory for you to go there, but still you went there and they appreciated it. So this, in a way, you are promoting the image of India abroad. We are very proud of you about that.
Yeah.
Which type of help do you want?
I'm sorry.
Which type of help do you want? Again, are you going to visit the Ukraine?
I'm going to visit again and I just need financial help.
Financial help only.
Because, you know, a lot of people give me donations, they want to give me donations in terms of clothing and things like that. The thing is, you also need to sustain the economy there.
Yeah.
Right? So when I take cash over there, I buy things at the supermarket there, which is sustaining their economy, and I'm helping the refugees. So it's a double help. Taking things from here, so when I took those 9 suitcases of medical supplies, and those are supplies that are not available even in Europe because of the war, those were supplies that you couldn't get in Ukraine, you couldn't get anywhere in Europe, but they were available in the US, and they were also available in back order. Taking those necessary supplies, it cost me $288 per suitcase.
Oh. No, the best way is to take financial help and let some organization organize the.
Exactly.
That is better. That is better.
So that is what I do. So what I've also done is since I left India I left the US in November. So I've been in India since end of November, and I have rented my house on Airbnb. So I'm using those funds to help the Ukrainians. So basically it's just financial. It's all financial. Because the drugs that they need are all drugs that are, they have to be prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah.
So I can't take them because I'll be stopped at the customs border.
True.
Because I did do that. I did try to do that, but it's not legal, so I can't do that. So it's just money.
त्यांची साईट असेल तर ते आपल्या
ठीक आहे,
जीवनात
आपण जीवनातर्फे पुन्हा फुलाची पाकळी काहीतरी देऊ शकतो. Of our Indian currency is having very little value as against the dollar.
But
Anyway,
anything you can give is appreciated.
Yeah.
I've had my neighborhood children come and give me $10.
exactly.
And you know what? It doesn't matter how much it's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
And
So we'll definitely do that. We are already doing humanitarian work on our behalf in our own little way.
मागच्यासारखं अपील करा.
Then we have already donated to war heroes like that lame fellow who came here.
आपण आपल्या क्लबच्या याच्यात पैसे गोळा करून मग एक कॉमन
We can do that. Yeah.
आम्ही पाठवतो.
The amount won't be much in terms of dollars, but then whatever we can.
anything you choose to give, including your wishes,
Yeah.
are very valuable.
Okay, fine.
You know,
Thank
your
you.
prayers, your wishes. I mean, what do we want except peace for everyone, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Meeting important. Meeting agenda.
खाली बोलतो.